What if I told you the most deceptive feature in your car isn't buried in the engine or hidden in some infotainment menu? Nope, it's something that looks simple but is secretly one of the most complex, expensive, and yeah, potentially dangerous parts of your vehicle. It's all about how far your seat can slide.
And this quote it nails it. We spend so much time obsessing over leather quality and how soft the foam is, but when it comes down to it, family peace often depends on just a few extra inches of legroom.
You know the scene. We've all been there. Your tall father-in-law is crammed in the back, his knees basically jammed into your spine. He tries to slide his seat back, but it barely budges. And then, silence. Suddenly the air in the car is colder than the AC. That quiet? That is the sound of a car feature completely failing at its one job, keeping everyone happy.
And this brings us to what I like to call the half-meter problem. That extra 50 centimeters, about half a meter, of seat movement is the difference between a penalty box and a private jet on wheels. But getting that extra space right is a huge engineering nightmare.
Just look at the difference here. It's insane. A typical car seat, it moves about 280 millimeters. That's fine for the driver. But in a modern MPV, that rail can stretch out to 700 millimeters. That is more than double the distance. This isn't just a minor adjustment. It completely transforms the inside of the car.
So, how are we supposed to think about this piece of tech? Well, the best way to really get what's going on with the engineering is to use a simple analogy. Think of it as a ladder for your seat.
In plain English, an extra long seat rail is exactly what it sounds like. A way longer track for the seat to slide on. It's the hardware that lets you move a heavy 40-kilogram captain's chair over half a meter back and forth. But you can't just slap a longer piece of metal on the floor and call it a day. It's not that simple.
And here's why. Just like one of those telescoping ladders, the longer you stretch out a seat rail, the bigger the problems get. Is it going to wobble when it's all the way back? Can the lock actually handle the stress? And here's the big one. Can it survive a car crash? A ladder just has to hold your body weight. A seat rail has to hold you and the seat against a 20G impact. That's like trying to hold back a couple of tons of force.
So, to get that extra length, the entire system has to be stronger, which, yeah, you guessed it, makes it a lot more expensive. So let's break down what you actually get for that money and what it really costs.
The payoff for all that engineering is just incredible flexibility. With the normal rail, your tall passenger is stuck. Getting to the third row is this awkward climb over everything mess, and hauling cargo? Forget about it. But with an extra long rail, boom, you can create limousine-level legroom. You can open up a wide-open path to the third row, or you can slide those seats all the way up and create a massive flat cargo space. It turns a 7-seater into a luxury 4-seater or even a mini cargo van.
Now hold on, because not all long rails are the same. The basic manual ones are super reliable, but moving that heavy seat can be a real workout. Electric rails, they add that touch of luxury. They've got memory functions, but they are slow and add more stuff that can break. Then you've got these lightweight aluminum rails, which save weight, super important for EVs, but they cost more. The key thing to remember is that the most expensive option isn't always the best one for you.
Okay, so what does this tech actually cost the car maker? If you add up just the hardware for a pair of high-end electric rails, the motors, the controls, the beefed-up tracks, you're looking at about 4,000 Chinese yuan. Got it? Remember that number.
But when you see that feature on the options list, it adds closer to 30,000 yuan to the price of the car. So, what is going on here? Why this massive markup? Is it just a ripoff?
Well, the price shock comes from everything else that has to be changed. See, you can't just bolt longer rails onto a normal car floor. The entire floor of the car has to be redesigned from scratch. That means brand new molds, millions in engineering and crash test validation, and stronger mounting points built right into the car's frame. The hardware itself is pretty cheap. Making the car's foundation safe enough to handle it is where the real money is.
Okay, so now that you know all this, let's talk about the stuff you're going to hear in the showroom. Think of this as your personal guide to cutting through the sales pitch and getting to the engineering reality.
First up, the classic upsell. The salesperson sees you looking at that massive travel distance and says with a big smile, "Longer is always better, right?" It just gives you so many more options. Wrong. Big mistake. The complex mechanism for a longer rail can actually raise the seat's height by an inch or more, and that eats into your headroom. Plus, if the engineering isn't absolutely perfect, that long lever is way more likely to develop shakes, rattles, and annoying noises over time. Sometimes, a well-designed standard rail is just plain better. Then you get the tech pitch. Oh, you definitely want the electric version. It's the premium, more advanced option. And it's an easy sell, right? Who doesn't want the fancy button?
Not so fast. Here's the deal. A manual rail takes about 2 seconds to slide from one end to the other. The electric one, it can take up to 20 seconds of you holding down a button, listening to a little motor whine. The real reason to get the electric rail isn't the motor, it's the memory function. If you and someone else are always swapping who's driving, it's fantastic. But if it's just you, a good manual rail is faster and has less to go wrong.
Okay, let's move beyond the sales pitch and the convenience factor. There's something much more important they won't talk about in the showroom. We need to talk about safety. Because when engineers get this wrong, the results aren't just a noisy car or an unhappy passenger. The consequences can be absolutely catastrophic. And there's a very real industry lesson here, one that was learned the hardest way possible.
Here's just how bad it can get. Back in 2019, an MPV was going through a side impact crash test. It had these extra long 650mm rails, but, and this is the scary part, they were only bolted to the floor with 2 mounting points. When the car was hit, the force was just too much. The bolts tore right through the metal and the entire second row seat ripped free, becoming a deadly projectile inside the car.
This horrifying failure forced immediate changes across the entire industry. Now, any properly engineered long rail has 3, sometimes even 4 mounting points to spread out that force. They often have a central reinforcement beam to stop them from twisting, and they use dual locking mechanisms. That way, if one lock fails in a crash, there's a backup to hold that seat right where it belongs.
So with all of that, the convenience, the cost, and the critical safety aspect, how can you as a buyer actually check this stuff for yourself in the showroom? I'm going to give you a simple toolkit.
All right, before the final test, let's just recap the 3 key takeaways you need to have in your head. First, this feature is all about flexibility. So ask yourself, will my family actually use all these different modes? Second, quality and safety mean it feels stable, quiet, and smooth. Anything less is a huge red flag. And third, judge the electric option by its memory function, not its speed. A good manual is often the better choice.
Okay, so here it is, the single most important thing you can do in that showroom. Slide that second row seat all the way to the back. Grab the headrest with both hands and give it a hard shake. Seriously, shake it. Does it feel rock solid, like it's part of the car's frame? Or does it wobble and rattle and feel loose? That feeling, that tells you more about the engineering quality than any brochure or salesperson ever will. It's the difference between a cheap gimmick and a truly premium, safe feature.